We don't know everything about the past. Archaeologists around the world are uncovering artifacts that challenge our thinking about how long-lost cultures lived. It's not unheard of for history books to be rewritten because of a single discovery. Even today, such finds are being made that excite historians. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the most exciting discoveries from recent years. Enjoy watching. The Celts' wind instrument, Carnyx. Between 300 and 280 BC, the Iron Age Celts used a terrifying instrument in battle. The Carnyx was a wind instrument carried upright. At the top was the head of a dangerous animal, such as a wild boar, snake, or dragon. From the wide-open mouth of the animal came a sound that struck fear into the hearts of their enemies. Although contemporary sources describe the instrument as harsh and gloomy, we will never know exactly what the Carnyx sounded like. According to researchers, the reason for the Carnyx's use was to demoralize enemy troops. Although the instrument is mentioned in many reports and records from that period, only 5 pieces of it had been found until 2004. In the same year, archaeologists managed to unearth a large collection of Iron Age artifacts, including 7 well-preserved Carnyxes. The mouthpiece of a Carnyx found in France showed that it was played horizontally rather than vertically. Historians then hypothesized that the instrument was used not only in war, but also in festivals, weddings, and other ceremonies.
2,600-year-old wine factory.
In September 2020, archaeologists in Lebanon made a groundbreaking discovery. In a Phoenician village dating back to the 7th century BC, alongside 4 houses, the oldest Phoenician winemaking vat ever found was discovered. In a pool containing 4,500 liters of liquid, wine production residues consisting of dried seeds were found. Although the Phoenicians did not invent the wine vat, they were the ones who cultivated and produced grapes in the Mediterranean. The seafaring society noticed the favorable climate for viticulture in North Africa, Sicily, and Spain, and spread the wine tradition to their colonies. They loved their wine so much that they even used it in religious ceremonies. Since bottles had not yet been invented, wines were stored and bartered in 2-handled jugs. Tobacco residues in Mayan pots. The Mayan culture, which emerged in South America, is known for its highly advanced technology and science. Therefore, artifacts belonging to this society are examined more closely and in detail. Although written ceramic vessels are often found, the writings on them do not always coincide with the estimated intended use. This is because some containers are used for multiple purposes, and the contents of others have been degraded over the centuries by bacteria or chemical reactions. Researchers at the University of Albany, using the most advanced techniques, managed to detect nicotine in a ceramic vessel designed to store tobacco leaves. Nicotine is a component of tobacco. Therefore, it is understood that the Mayan people used tobacco for pleasure more than 1,300 years ago. Until now, the written content of the Mayan vessels found had only been confirmed once. In 1989, traces of cocoa were indeed found in a vessel found to be a cocoa vessel. Mathematical secrets of ancient merchants. In our modern world, we measure objects in liters, meters, or kilograms. But did you know that the ancient Egyptians used a similar unit standard as early as 3,000 years ago? Researchers at Tel Aviv University revealed this fact using smoothly cut round vessels. Mathematicians were able to calculate that the spherical vessels held exactly 1 or half a hekat. This ancient Egyptian unit is equal to approximately 4.8 liters. Generally used for commercial purposes, these vessels could measure the exact amount of liquid or powder. Merchants could learn the volume of the vessel by simply measuring the circumference. However, the discovery of barrels capable of carrying exactly 1 hekat showed that the Egyptian system was also used by the Phoenicians and other Mediterranean civilizations. With the expansion of the Assyrian Empire, the use of the advanced unit of measure came to an end. Stone statue found in Hatay. An important discovery was made at the Tel Tayinat mound in Hatay, Turkey. Researchers have suggested that the building fragments found on the mound belong to the ancient city of Cunalua. Cunalua was the capital of one of the Hittite kingdoms that ruled in 2000 BC. The excavation site waited for its archaeologists for a full 80 years. Researchers returning to Tel Tayanat in the 2000s made important discoveries, including a meticulously crafted stone statue depicting a bearded man. Although only the upper part of the statue has survived to the present day, calculations have shown that the actual size of the statue reached 4 meters. Researchers said the statue was attributed to the Hittite god Suppiluliuma. The artifact was either used in religious ceremonies or weapons made from shark teeth. The Gilbert Islands are located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, within the borders of the country of Kiribati. The ancient islanders needed weapons to fight. There was no metal around that they could work with, so they decided to make their weapons from the teeth of sharks that washed ashore. They tied the teeth to wooden spears using coconut fibers or human hair. Although 124 razor-sharp spears were discovered in the 19th century, they were exhibited in museums for about 200 years without being noticed what they were. When biologists took a closer look at the teeth on the spears, some pretty remarkable things came to light. The islanders used teeth from 17 different shark species to make weapons. Interestingly, 2 of these species, the dusky shark and the spot-tail shark, have never been seen near Kiribati before. Thanks to the spears, biologists learned that these 2 species once had a much wider migration range. It is not fully understood what drove the species away from Kiribati waters. It is thought that humans were responsible for their disappearance. The oldest evidence of cheese making. Cheese is a fairly easy food to make. Take warm milk, add rennet or lactic acid bacteria, and cool. That's it. So who were the first cheesemakers? Ceramic strainers found in Poland revealed that people were making cheese 7,000 years ago. The discovery was confirmed by trace amounts of milk fat found in the containers. Dairy products were an important source of protein for Neolithic people. Thanks to milk, they were able to obtain food without having to slaughter their valuable animals. This even played a role in the transition of people to settled life. Cheese also had 2 important advantages. First of all, it has a longer shelf life and is easier to transport than milk. In addition, almost all Europeans in the Neolithic period had problems with lactose digestion. Turning milk into cheese greatly reduced lactose, making it easier to digest.
30,000-year-old artifacts.
2 incredible artifacts, exactly 30,000 years old, have been found in China. One of these artifacts was a stone with carvings thought to be from the Chinese Stone Age, first example of its kind. The 8 straight lines on the stone were clearly visible even to the naked eye. Analyses revealed that these were not made by animals or natural events. The lines must have been deliberately carved by humans. Whether these lines were drawn to count numbers or represent a primitive type of writing is still unknown. Beads made from ostrich eggshells were also found in the same place as the stones. Ostriches used to live not only in Africa, but also in large parts of Eurasia. It is still being investigated which society the artifacts belong to. It is thought that they may belong to the indigenous people of China or immigrants who came to the region from the West. The oldest human footprints outside Africa. Something discovered in the Arabian Peninsula in 2017 caused great excitement among experts. Arab scientists have found human footprints among the sand dunes. These were the oldest human footprints found outside of Africa. The depressions found on the dry desert floor date back 120,000 years. These tracks may provide clues as to when the first representatives of our ancestors left the main continent of Africa, what exactly these people looked like, or how they lived. However, the discovery continues to be a matter of debate, but we can say for sure that elephant, camel, and buffalo footprints were also found in the same place. Perhaps they had gathered at this point to drink water from a nearby lake with our ancestors. For centuries, various parts of the world have been abandoned for one reason or another, and forgotten over time. Nature has reclaimed these historically significant places from humans. The regions we will now talk about are some of the places where people once settled, and are now eerily integrated with nature. Herschel Island. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, whaling was an important business sector in many countries around the world, especially near the Arctic. One of the most important centers of this sector was located on Herschel Island in Canada. This was an industrial center where whales were processed and whaling expeditions began. Around 1910, whaling lost its importance, and people left the island. The ocean gradually engulfed parts of the island, along with forgotten architecture. Over time, the island became a habitat for wild birds, vegetation, and animals. We can say that this is a perfect example of nature taking back what belongs to it. Herschel Island is currently facing the possibility of losing a unique piece of human history due to climate change. Kayakoi. In the Fethia district of Mugla, there are many small towns that played an important role in ancient times and even in the early Middle Ages. One of them is Kayakoi. This ancient Greek settlement served as an important port. The city, which passed into the hands of various rulers over the years, was abandoned with the population exchange that took place in the 19th century. Largely destroyed by earthquakes, Kayakoi is today a ghost town where old churches, Greek houses, and remains from ancient times can be seen. Glen Park. There are some very interesting ruins on the outskirts of Tallinn, the capital of Estonia. This emerged as a project carried out by landowner Nikolai von Glen, who wanted to establish his own small kingdom. There was an impressive castle, garden, and various structures in the area that attracted tourists from surrounding areas. When the castle was looted during World War I, nothing remained of the interior decorations designed by Nikolai. However, there are interesting statues in the park, such as a devil and a dragon, made of stone and other materials. No official records of the property have survived. Therefore, the region continues to maintain its mystery. St. Mary's Tower. Located on one of Malta's coastlines, St. Mary's Watchtower has been an important structure for islanders and ships for centuries. Built in the mid-17th century, the tower's original purpose was to protect merchant ships and surrounding small islands from pirate attacks. However, it also served as a hospital, prison, and refuge for spies during one of the wars around Malta. The tower was only abandoned in the 21st century and given to a charity. The institution informs visitors who come to see this historical piece about why this tower and others have played such an important role in the development of the island. Kachari Ruins. In the Middle Ages, there were many small and large kingdoms in India. The rulers showed their power with temples, palaces, and other monuments. Little is known about these kingdoms because what remains of those days has decayed over time. An example of this is the strange remains from the Kachari Empire. The kingdom was invaded and plundered in the 18th century. All that remains of the empire's magnificent temple are some monuments that can still be seen today. The mushroom-like columns waited to be remembered for centuries and were eventually reopened to tourism. However, there is a theory that these ruins are much older than the kingdom that gave them their name. But since the condition of the remains is very poor and only a few remain, it may take years for the mystery to be solved. Fortuna Air Force Station. Fortuna Air Force Station was built in the early 1950s and served as a radar station for unidentified aircraft until the late 1970s. When it was realized that the facility was no longer needed, the land rights were sold many times and the buildings were left to their fate. Most of the buildings were demolished in search of usable parts. Now only the old radar station and some small buildings remain. The facility, which has been part of nature for over 40 years, now serves as a haunt for adventurers. Cimitero dei Burci. Burci were a type of wooden ship that carried goods and people between Venice and the surrounding lakes. This was a tradition that continued until around the 20th century. By the 1970s, many ships, such as the Burci, were abandoned to rot due to the new and more efficient roads that were built. The half-sunken ships lying in the lakes have become places where plants and animals can take shelter. Today, Cimitero dei Burci welcomes tourists as part of a walking tour between Venice and Treviso. Bedrock City. The Flintstones was a popular cartoon and comic book series for many years, young and old. There were several amusement parks in the U.S. state of Arizona that modeled the Stone Age family. Located in the middle of the desert, the amusement park had various toys and restaurants inspired by the Flintstones. However, after the owner of the park retired, no buyer could be found for the facility, and it was abandoned. Structures such as dinosaurs and Fred Flintstone's house are still visible for now. The person who recently took over the business will remove what is left of Bedrock City and establish a bird farm here. Villa Mayhew. Finnish dancer Elise Sinisto wanted to build a house for herself and her guests that could only be made from recycled materials. Thus, Villa Mayhew emerged, a combination of different buildings and accommodation units. A multi-story building, a sauna, guest rooms, and a community center with a dance hall were created on the land. After the dancer's death, the property was sealed and did not become operational again. Villa Mayhew functions as a tourist attraction today. Those who go to the region can witness that nature has perfectly embraced recyclable materials.